The sharp pain in my abdomen was getting worse as I clutched my phone, trying to focus on the hotel manager's words through the post-surgery haze. "Mrs. Parker, I'm sorry to disturb you, but your children have been crying for hours. Your sister-in-law left around 8 p.m., saying she'd be back shortly. It's now 2 a.m. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 32, I never imagined I'd be lying in a hospital bed after emergency appendix surgery, listening to a stranger tell me my children had been abandoned in a Miami hotel room. My husband James was deployed overseas, and my sister-in-law, Madison, had insisted, on taking our kids, Emma, 7, and Lucas, 5, on what she called a fun beach weekend. They'll be fine with me, she'd said, rolling her eyes at my hesitation. Stop being such a helicopter mom. I've got this covered. That was before my appendix nearly burst, before Madison decided my children were cramping her style, and before I discovered just how little family meant to her. I'd started feeling sick the day after they left. By midnight, I was in emergency surgery. Madison had texted me a dismissive "hope I feel better" with a party emoji, assuring me the kids were having a blast. What she didn't mention was that she'd been leaving them alone in a hotel room while she bar hopped with her friends. Your children are obviously distressed, the hotel manager, Mr. Torres, continued. Security footage shows your sister-in-law leaving with a group of people. She's ignored all our calls. I tried to sit up, fighting against the post-surgery pain. Are my children okay? Is someone with them? Our head of housekeeping, Mrs. Martinez, is sitting with them now. She has grandchildren their age and didn't want them to be alone. His voice softened. But Mrs. Parker, we need to know how to proceed. Should we contact child services? My heart raced. Child services, the words every parent dreads hearing. But I had a better idea. Mr. Torres, could you hold for just a moment? I need to make a quick call. I hung up and immediately dialed another number, praying she would answer at this hour. After 3 rings, a familiar voice came through. Olivia? What's wrong, sweetheart? Margaret, I said, relief flooding through me at the sound of my mother-in-law's voice. Not James's stepmother, who had raised Madison to be just like her, but his biological mother, the woman who had been there for every important moment in our children's lives. I need your help. As I explained the situation, Margaret's warm voice turned to steel. Text me the hotel details. I'm on my way to the airport now. And Olivia? Don't worry about Madison. I'll handle my ex-husband's spoiled princess. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Madison. OMG, these guys are taking us to their yacht. Might crash there tonight. Kids are fine. They have TV and room service. Stop being so uptight. Attached was a photo of her in a skimpy dress, champagne in hand, surrounded by strangers on what looked like a club rooftop. My hands shook with anger as I forwarded the text to Margaret. The entitlement of that girl, Margaret muttered. I've watched her and her mother take advantage of your kindness for too long. Remember last Christmas when they tried to convince James you were too controlling because you wouldn't let them take the kids to Aspen for a month? I did remember. Just like I remembered every other time Madison had tried to undermine my parenting, always with the same excuse. I just want to give them the fun their mom never lets them have. Mr. Torres was still holding on my other line. I switched back to him, my voice stronger now. Sir, my mother-in-law, Margaret Parker, will be there in approximately 3 hours. She's booked on the next flight from Atlanta. Could you please make sure my children know their grandmother is coming? Of course, Mrs. Parker. And regarding your sister-in-law. When she returns, I said, a calm settling over me. Please ensure she knows that she's no longer authorized to access the room or my children. In fact, I paused, thinking of all the times I kept quiet for the sake of family peace. Please have security escort her out if she tries. After hanging up, I lay back against the hospital pillows, my surgical incision throbbing. I thought about Emma and Lucas, probably scared and confused, wondering why their aunt had left them alone. Madison had always treated them like accessories, cute when convenient, burdensome when they interfered with her plans. My phone buzzed again. A message from Margaret. Just boarded. Olivia, it's time we showed Madison that actions have consequences. I've already called her father, and for once in his life, he agrees. This ends now. She was right. This was going to end, but not quietly. Not this time. As I closed my eyes, trying to rest until the next update, I silently thanked whatever twist of fate had made me save the hotel manager's business card. Their security cameras were about to tell a story that would change everything. Margaret's voice was steady when she called at 5 a.m. "I've got them, Olivia. They're safe." I could hear Emma and Lucas in the background, their tired voices brightening at the sight of their grandmother. "But you need to see something. I'm having Mr. Torres send you the security footage." Minutes later, my phone pinged with a video link. The timestamp showed 7:45 p.m. Madison practically dragging my children back to their room after dinner. "Just watch TV or whatever." Her voice was sharp with irritation. Emma's small voice asked when she'd be back. Madison gave a dismissive wave as she walked out, designer purse swinging. "Stop being so needy. God, you're just like your mother." The next clip showed her returning at 11 p.m., clearly intoxicated, stumbling into the room with a group of strangers. "Shah," she giggled. "My boring sister-in-law's kids are sleeping." They raided the minibar, ran up room service charges on my credit card, and left again, leaving the door barely latched. The children woke up scared around 1 a.m., Mr. Torres explained in his accompanying email. Our night manager found them crying in the hallway. They couldn't reach their aunt, and the room door had locked behind them when they went looking for her. My hands shook with rage as I watched the timestamp jump to 2 a.m. My children huddled with the kind-hearted Mrs. Martinez, while Madison's Instagram story showed her partying on some stranger's yacht, completely unbothered. "I've never seen James so angry," Margaret continued. "I sent him the footage. He's making calls from overseas right now. His commanding officer is helping him arrange emergency leave." Just then, another call came through. "Madison." I switched lines, putting her on speaker so Margaret could hear. "What the actual hell, Olivia?" she slurred. "The hotel security won't let me in. My stuff is in there." "Where were you, Madison?" My voice was ice. "Out, living my life. I'm not some boring mom who can't have fun. Your kids are fine, they're just spoiled and..." "They're 7 and 5 years old." The fury I've been containing finally broke. "You left them alone in a hotel room while you partied with strangers." "Oh my God, you're so dramatic. This is why nobody likes you, Olivia. You're just jealous because I know how to have a good time. James always says." "James always says what?" Margaret's voice cut through, sharp and clear. Madison fell silent. "Please finish that sentence," Margaret demanded. "I'd love to hear what my son supposedly says about his wife while he's serving overseas." "Mom?" Madison's voice went small. I didn't know you were." "Clearly," Margaret said. "Just like you didn't know that hotel security cameras record everything, or that child endangerment is a criminal offense, or that your father is on his way to Miami right now, and for once he's not coming to rescue you." I could hear Madison's sharp intake of breath. Her father, Richard, had always swooped in to save her from consequences, writing checks and making excuses. But abandoning children, even he had his limits. "The police want to talk to you," Margaret continued. "Your choice whether that happens at the hotel or after they track you down." Madison's voice turned wheedling. "Come on, it's not that serious. Olivia's just being dramatic because she's jealous. I was giving the kids a fun weekend. They're safe, aren't they? Nothing happened." "Nothing happened," I repeated slowly because the hotel staff had more concern for my children than their own aunt. "Nothing happened because Mrs. Martinez sat with them for hours while you were out with strangers. Nothing happened by pure luck, Madison. But something's about to happen now." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," Margaret answered, "that it's time to grow up. The yacht party's over." After we hung up, Margaret sent me a photo of my children, finally sleeping peacefully in the hotel room's big bed. "Rest, Olivia," she said gently. "Focus on healing. I've got the kids, the police have the footage, and Madison. Well, she's about to learn that some things even Daddy can't fix." I dozed off in my hospital bed, waking to a flurry of notifications. Madison had been picked up by hotel security trying to sneak into the building through a service entrance. Her father had arrived to find her sitting in the hotel's security office, mascara streaked down her face, still in her party dress from the night before. "Your stepmother's on her way too," Margaret updated me. "Catherine's furious. Apparently Madison maxed out her credit cards buying rounds of champagne for her new yacht friends last night. The yacht that turned out to be a rental, by the way, belonging to some social media wannabes with fake followers." I thought about Catherine. Madison's mother and James's stepmother, who had always encouraged her daughter's entitled behavior, who had criticized my parenting at every turn, calling me controlling and boring. I wondered what she would say now. A text from James popped up. "I'm coming home. This ends now. I love you." I closed my eyes, exhausted but relieved. For years, I tried to maintain peace, to be the bigger person, to give Madison chance after chance for the sake of family harmony. But she had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. She had put my children at risk, and no amount of daddy's money or stepmom's excuses could make that right. Mr. Torres sent one final security clip, Madison being escorted out by police, her father's face set in stone as he watched, for once not stepping in to save her. "Your children are my responsibility," she screamed at the cameras. I was just having fun. No, I thought, watching her meltdown. My children were never your responsibility. They were your opportunity to prove you could think of someone besides yourself. And you failed. 3 months after the Miami incident, I sat in our backyard watching Emma and Lucas play with their dad. James had extended his leave to be with us, his commanding officer understanding the gravity of what had happened. The sound of their laughter was healing. It had taken weeks of gentle conversations and reassurance for them to stop asking if they'd done something wrong, if that was why Aunt Madison had left them alone. Madison herself was facing consequences she'd never imagined. The hotel had pressed charges for damages and theft. Apparently, she'd helped herself to items from other guests' rooms during her drunken visits. The police had body cam footage of her behavior during the arrest, which didn't help her case. But the biggest blow came from her father. "I'm done," Richard had said during a family meeting 2 weeks after the incident. No more excuses, no more checkbook parenting. He froze in her accounts, stopped paying her rent, and insisted she get professional help. For once, he was acting like a father instead of an ATM. Catherine, on the other hand, was still trying to minimize the situation. "They're making too much of this," she'd insisted, showing up at our house uninvited. Madison was just having fun. Young people need to live a little. James had calmly shown her out, his military bearing never wavering. "Young people need to live, Mom. Children need to feel safe. If you can't understand the difference, you don't need to be around my family." A text from Margaret pulled me back to the present. "You won't believe what Madison just posted." I opened Instagram to find a lengthy post, Madison's first public acknowledgement of what she'd done. "I've spent 3 months in intensive therapy," she wrote, "facing hard truths about who I've been and the people I've hurt. To my niece and nephew, I'm sorry. To my sister-in-law, I'm sorry. My actions were inexcusable." "Do you think she means it?" I asked James later, showing him the post. He wrapped an arm around me thoughtful. "Maybe. Dad's finally stopped enabling her. She's working as a receptionist now, living in a tiny apartment, taking a bus instead of getting Ubers everywhere. Real life has a way of changing perspectives." The doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Martinez, the hotel housekeeper who'd stayed with our children that night. She'd become an unexpected blessing in our lives, visiting whenever her daughter's family came to town. Emma ran to hug her, all traces of that traumatic night erased by new, better memories. "Madison called me," Mrs. Martinez said over coffee. "She wanted to thank me for taking care of the children." She was crying. Real tears this time, not the manipulative ones from that night. I nodded, remembering how Madison had turned on the waterworks at the police station, trying to convince them it was all a misunderstanding. It hadn't worked. The security footage told the real story. "The hotel is using our case for staff training," Mrs. Martinez continued. "Mr. Torres says it's a perfect example of why we have protocols for unaccompanied minors. They've even strengthened their security measures." Later that evening, as I tucked the kids into bed, Emma asked the question I'd been expecting. "Is Aunt Madison ever coming back?" I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. "Aunt Madison is learning some important lessons right now. If she shows us she's really changed, if she proves she can be trusted, maybe one day. But not until Daddy and I are completely sure you'll be safe." Sometimes I look at the security footage from that night, not to relive the trauma, but to remind myself why boundaries matter. The last clip shows Mrs. Martinez reading to my crying children, proving that sometimes strangers can be more family than family itself. But it also shows how one night of selfish choices can change everything: relationships, reputations, futures. Madison learned that lesson the hard way. And my children? They learned that their parents and grandmother would always protect them, even if it meant standing up to people who thought family was a get-out-of-jail-free card. Some wounds take time to heal. Some trust may never fully return. But we're stronger now, wiser about who we let into our children's lives. And somewhere in Miami, a hotel's security cameras are still recording, ready to protect the next vulnerable person who needs someone to notice, someone to care, someone to say, "This isn't right."